Well, speaking of shocked and horrified,
Yes.
this was an event that shocked and horrified, the U.S. and if not the world over 50 years ago. Yeah. But this week I've been on a documentary jag.
Okay.
And what I didn't realize, because I don't just search the internet looking for stuff so much, but this week something caught my eye and then I just got hooked into it.
Okay.
There are all these documentaries out there about the mob world, which, I know you're aware of.
Love that stuff.
But when you can Chromecast it to your TV or, pull it up on the Roku or whatever, it's very cool because the whoever uploaded these things, very quality video and audio. So it's just like watching a DVD.
Sure.
It's that good. So I was watching all these mob-related documentaries this week about what led up to the assassination of President Kennedy and then, of course, Robert Kennedy a few years later.
Okay.
And, as much as I enjoyed those kind of documentaries in the past, watching it in succession and listening to all the people kind of in the know who are still alive today,
sure,
it's very clear how that happened and why it happened. And in my mind, as much as a mystery has surrounded the Kennedy assassination,
right?
If what you see in these documentaries is true, and I have no reason not to believe it, it's very clear as to why it happened and how it happened and who did it, and basically they got away with it.
Who do you think did it?
Well, it was the mob.
You think the mob did it?
Oh yeah. If you watched all the footage and the documentary stuff that I watched this week, I watched, I think, every night of the week this week. I watched another one that's out there. But This was a whole culmination of things. I mean, it was like a perfect storm, more or less.
Right.
The mob was a very strong, force in the U.S., especially, they started really building their power, I guess, in the 30s, maybe even before that with Prohibition and everything.
20s with Capone.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. With Prohibition. Mm-hmm. And then, then they started gaining more steam in the 40s. But then by the 50s, they were running those casinos over in Cuba.
Right.
And then when Castro overthrew the government and shut down all those casinos, right, the mob lost, a big revenue stream for them.
Sure.
And this was like 59, right? Well,
sure.
Kennedy was elected in 60, right?
Right.
Well, another strong. So what happened there is when the mob lost their casinos in Cuba, they needed a new revenue stream, which became Las Vegas.
Right.
Okay. Well, they used the money from the Teamsters pension fund. Who was the head of the Teamsters back then?
Jimmy
Hoffa, right?
Sure.
Well, Jimmy Hoffa made a deal or had ties with the mob, but he wasn't a yes man for the mob. He sort of had to straddle the line between being a good union or labor leader, but also have a good relationship with the mob, but he didn't give the mob everything that they wanted.
Right.
But he worked with them, and it was sort of like, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine type of relationship.
Right.
Well, once the Kennedy administration came into office in the 60s with Robert Kennedy being the attorney general, he was coming after Hoffa big time in the mob, right?
Sure.
Well, if you go even further back, Joe Kennedy, who obviously is the Kennedy's father, he made all his money during Prohibition. He was a bootlegger, right?
Right, sure.
And he made millions of dollars in bootlegging, so on and so forth. Well, they were saying that Joe Kennedy, in a lot of regards, was a mobster himself.
Sure.
And they said that he would take $1 million, like $1 million check, and donate it to the church.
Okay.
And then they would give him back $900,000 in cash out of the parishioners' donations. So he got a tax write-off for $1 million donation, but they gave 900,000 of it back to him in cash.
Right.
And then he used that cash to grease the palms of all the mobsters and everything to get John Kennedy elected.
Right. Okay.
And then once they got elected, he told the mob that his boys would be favorable toward the mob and, maybe look the other way.
And then they didn't.
But then they didn't. So it was just like, you know what? We got you guys elected and now you're going after us hardcore.
Yeah.
So basically, fuck you guys.
Fuck you, Jizz Bucket. We're going to blow your son's head off.
So the thing is that, they needed they needed that pension money from the Teamsters Union, but Robert Kennedy was coming after Hoffa, and he was going after the mob, and the mob was trying to build Vegas because they needed a replacement for Cuba, and
right.
Robert kept interfering.
Right.
Well, they knew that if they killed Robert Kennedy, that the weight of the government would come down on him. So basically the idea was if you cut off the head, the tail will stop wagging.
Right.
So they basically had to take out President Kennedy.
Wow. And they did.
And they did.
I believe some of that, but I believe there's more than that.
Well, the thing is that the CIA
yeah.
used the mob because they knew the mob was pissed off about the Castro thing.
Right.
So they wanted the mob to go over there and assassinate Castro.
Okay.
So the CIA was in cahoots with the mob and was just like, hey, if you go over there and knock out Castro, then you'll have a little more leeway here.
Right.
Well, they weren't successful in knocking off Castro, right?
Sure.
And so there was like this collusion between the government and the mob, and then, of course, Robert Kennedy and all. But like I said, it turned into almost like a perfect storm to where it culminated into the death of a president.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But the thing is the root of all this, money.
Of course.
Money is everything.
Money is what kills most people, isn't it?
Absolutely. So it's just interesting, how this all kind of started to boil up, starting in the late 50s until the death of both JFK and Robert Kennedy.
Sure.
But, I just was hooked on that because they did such a great job, talking to, some of these old time guys or people
right.
who were still in the know, and they had all this footage, and this guy knew this guy, and Ruby knew these guys, and the uncle of Oswald was this guy, and he had ties to New Orleans, and and it was just like, well, the puzzle was there, that every piece of that puzzle fit between the Kennedys, the mob, Oswald, Jimmy Hoffa, to Jack Ruby, to there was some connection between all of them.
That is, I'm gonna have to watch that one. I've watched about a zillion JFK ones, so I'll have to see that one. You have to send that one to me.
Yeah. So and then of course it went into then it got into the actual footage of the events that took place that were depicted in the movie Casino.
Right.
And how basically the mob got taken down in the early 80s finally and run out of Las Vegas.
Right.
And the people that Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro depicted in real life,
Sam Rothstein show.
Exactly. So they actually had some of the footage from, the actual TV show and things like that the actual guy did have.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
It was pretty crazy. And of course that when Sam Rothstein, in the movie Casino, he got denied his gaming license.
Yeah.
Well, they actually have the footage of the hearing of the actual guy getting denied his gaming license from Harry Reid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Does he lose his shit like he did in the movie?
Yeah, he does. He kept saying, at least tell me I was at that meeting. Thank you for not calling me a liar. Well, that Harry Reid, he was being depicted by Tommy Smothers in that Casino movie.
Right, sure.
So that was actually Harry Reid.
Yeah, that guy's a fucking jizz bucket if ever there was one.
Yeah, no kidding. But that was interesting because they almost used verbatim the words of what was his name? Rosenthal was the actual guy's real name.
Right.
So it's good stuff.
That is cool. Yeah. Meanwhile, I don't know what I was doing today. I was flipping through documentaries, same as you. I was working, so I was putting shit on in the background. And I put on what had to be the most horrific documentary I've ever watched. I had to turn it off. It grossed me out so fucking bad.
Okay, what was that?
It was about some doctor in, I don't even know when it was. I think it was in the 80s. But he was like, he was from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, the guy in Philadelphia.
Was it Philadelphia?
Yeah.
With the abortions?
Yeah. He was like he was taking his scissors and like popping the skulls.
Yeah, cutting them through the bones of their necks at 21 weeks.
Yeah.
And they just kept showing these fucking babies with their heads half lopped off.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, oh, this is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
And then he had first of all, his office was just a fucking mess.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, if you would go in that place anyway,
it was like a slaughterhouse.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't care how old or dumb or scared you are. If you walk into a place and it looks like the fucking back end of a fucking Hoarders episode, do you really take off your panties and spread your pussy and say, "Here, doc, fix this"? I mean, really, would you?
Yeah.
It was fucking horrendous. Then they showed they showed some evidence where this sick fuck had a thing for baby feet. So he had all these fucking jars of baby feet.
Right.
He would take the aborted fetuses at 21 or 23 weeks or whatever and cut the feet off and keep the feet.
Right.
So they had like hundreds of fucking feet from like 21 week old.
Right.
It was gruesome, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that one advertised on Amazon or whatever, but ooh.
Yeah, I knew of the case because that wasn't that long ago. I mean, that doctor got convicted about, what was it, like 6-8 years ago, I think.
It wasn't that long ago, but his crimes were all the way back to the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they estimate that he killed like 10,000 babies or something over a course of time.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, but this documentary, the amount of actual death that they showed, and they must have shown 10 different clips of dead babies with heads half cut off. And
right.
Where he used, and the one fucking the investigator, he investigated the whole place and he inventoried everything that was in the place. And the point that he made when he said, we've been through this whole place. It has like 8,000 square feet or whatever. We only found one pair of scissors. So he literally didn't even use clean scissors.
Right.
He just kept using the same fucking dirtied up shit scissors.
That was his favorite pair.
Oh, dude, how many cases of staph must have come from this place?
Well.
Ugh. It was horrendous, man. I had to turn it off. They just kept showing dead babies, and I was like, all right, I've had enough of this.
Yeah. Well, there's some real ghouls out there. Remember that? I think the guy was out in Kansas. I think his name is Tiller the Killer.
Oh yeah.
He got assassinated because he was the same way.
Ugh.
He did the same thing.
What the fuck? What happens to people to get that way? You know, that's what I don't get. What? I mean, have you ever been in like a fist fight? I don't know if you have or you haven't.
Oh, when I was a younger lad, but only one.
Okay. Well, when you got in that one, did you have that pit of your stomach thing, or was it spur of the moment? It just happened.
It just happened.
Okay. Well, if you're planning a fight, I can only speak for me, so I'm not going to say that I'm a normal person or not a normal person, but I will speak for myself, and I think this is true of most people. When you're planning to fight, just to fight somebody, you get that feeling in the pit of your stomach. Like, you know, and you go through the emotions of, you know, am I going to hurt this guy? Am I going to get hurt? Blah, blah, blah. But you get that sort of sick feeling in your stomach.
Yeah, well, it's the fight or flight, you know, what do you want to call it?
It's a feeling or whatever.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the word I'm looking for. Anyway, go ahead.
Or even if you're doing something wrong on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You're stealing a candy bar from a grocery store.
Sure.
You get that fucking flash or whatever.
Yeah, you get that rush of What is the word I'm looking for?
It's not adrenaline.
Yeah, it's like an adrenaline rush.
Kind of, but it's almost like a sick feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like feeling sick in your stomach for a second, then you just plow through it.
Right.
How do you not... I mean, to kill 10,000 kids, 10,000 babies, man, how do you not have that feeling and have it just make you kill yourself at some point?
I don't know. Maybe it's just I think it's just a mental illness.
It has to, because I mean, at some point, don't you say, Jesus, I've killed 2,000?
I don't think so. I think some people have this attitude that they're doing good or something, that they're doing something good for mankind, or I don't know the answer.
It's God's work.
Well, it could be. Some people are ideologues to where, well, look at being a terrorist. They think that killing Christians is doing Allah's work. Sure. They have no issue with cutting somebody's head off or anything, because they think that they're doing something for the good of all mankind or whatever.
Let's not besmirch that. There's truth to that one. They are doing God's work.
Okay.
By the way, did you see that the blind sheikh died?
I did not.
Yeah, he died today.
Oh, I did not see any news today.
Yeah, I just happened to catch it on I was on a fantasy site, CNN, and I saw that the blind sheikh died today.
Oh, what a shame. What a huge loss.
Then I immediately went to some live news to see if there was any rioting anywhere. Dude, I'm telling you, I don't know about everybody else, but I don't want it to come to my door, obviously, but I love watching it on other people's door.
Sure.
I turn it on like it's a movie at this point, because I have just accepted the fact that the world is done. We lived through the last of the good, and now we're just going to watch it fall to shit.
Yeah.
And since we're going to watch it fall to shit, I'm going to enjoy watching.
Sure. Well, this week has been a week of death. I see Nicole Bass died.
Did she die?
She died. She died of a heart attack.
Okay.
And then George the Animal Steel died.
Yeah, and Ivan Koloff too.
Ivan died. The Russian.
Yeah, the Russian. What was his thing? The Russian warrior or something.
Yeah, he died.
He was the older one. He was the older one There was Ivan and Nikita.
Right, and then the one of the women in the landmark Roe versus Wade court ruling, she died today.
Oh, whatever. Was she pro or anti?
Well, she was the one who wanted the abortion. She got the abortion, and then she turned her life around later on, and then she said it was the wrong thing to do, and then she fought for the opposite direction, not to allow abortions.
I guess God aborted her today.
Yes, I think that might have been the case.
Sorry, lady.
Yeah. So, it's been an eventful week for, celebrity or people with some kind of notoriety dying this week.
Sure, I heard Bobby Blotzer's rat officially died this week, too.
Yes, so I see that. In fact, I got an email from Steven today.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, Jay Lee Anthony threw me one of his silly memes.
Yeah.
Of Bobby Blotzer on a pole.
Okay.
And I said, our fans are silly. I said, they're speculating on what your unemployed drummer is going to do to make $1.
Okay.
And I said, I'll be seeing you at the Arcade Theater in a couple of weeks. He's going to play over here. And he says, yeah, hit me up the day before. I'll hook you up with tickets. I'll have you come back.
Nice.
So I'll go hang with Steven in a couple of weeks.
I think I'm going to go hang with Steven as well in a couple of weeks.
Well, that's good.
When he's Billy, I talked to Billy Morris yesterday, and he was like, "Dude, you got to come out, man."
Well, he said, yeah, just hit me up the day before. I'll set you and your guys up.
Nice. So, all right, the guys. Now you just need to get some guys.
Yeah. Well, I have one guy who emailed me wanting to meet up with Steven, so I'm going to see if I can hook him up.
Is that guy flying in?
No, this is a guy that we'll be seeing him in Cincinnati.
Oh, okay. All right. Did you get the
Yes, I got your email about Toomey.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. And I will take care of that, but I can't do that a week ahead because then it'll get lost and forgotten. And
okay.
You know how that goes.
I know. He asked me this week, and I was like, I ain't heard shit.
I will handle it.
All right.
I will handle it, but it's only good for like the day before, because if you do it too early, then it just gets lost in the shuffle.
Maybe we should just try doing it with John. John will probably remember.
Yeah. Well, I'll get it handled. Don't worry.
All right, cool.
Because that's our good buddy down there in Whitesburg. That's his show.
Yeah.
That's Greg's show from WMMT. Yes.
Hey, buddies. Just got to say, you guys are my inspiration.
Yeah, he's the guy putting on that show.
Hey, good for him.
So our buddy Greg will be handling that.
Full spread?
Yeah, one solo cup full of ice and a half a can of soda.
4 Dixie cups.
I will never forget that as long as I live.
That's funny.
Wow, that was quite an experience.
Yeah, that was. I have to admit, I was very surprised at that. Because Greg just seems like he my impression of him is he would be the guy that would go the extra mile the other way and would spend like $600 on catering.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, before you went there, wouldn't you have thought that?
Well, yeah, I didn't know what to expect, but yeah, and this is no knock on Greg, but man, I was just like, holy cow.
Here's your bottle.
Here's the little bottle of Jack. Here's 1 can of Coke, and here's a solo cup of ice. Enjoy.
Put the ice in your mouth and pour it in and shake. Funny.
Yeah, it's too good. But yeah, I'll make sure Toomey gets taken care of for an interview.